This is about other stuff, not just Apple. Apple don't have any.
It's going to start doing more.
Things are a lot more simpler than they are today.
He told me about it today.
It happens so fast, too.
I did. You heard me? Friday night, where'd you see me at? Oh, the parade? Where were you standing at?
I was in Sheridan's Baltimore.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's my shoulders. Oh, I wouldn't say that. Thank you. Lee.
Well, you got a compliment, so you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
All right.
Get a compliment.
Paul. Hey, Paul. Time for Friday? Is that Fitch?
You said Friday, 11 to 1?
Are we live?
We are. 4:58.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'd like to call to order the City of Lawrenceburg Utility Service Board meeting for August the 26th, 2019. Wait, this is 23rd. And it's September. So, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, Crystal. We are not going to go relive the last 30 days. September 23rd, 2019. Okay, thank you. I should have caught that too, huh? Anyway, could I get a roll call, please?
Board Member Tony Abbott.
Here.
Board Member Aaron Cook.
Here.
Board Member Mel Davis.
Here.
Board Member Randy Abner.
Here.
Board Member Paul Seymour Jr.
Here.
Assistant City Attorney Zach Anderson.
Here.
Utility Attorney Gregory Nybarger. Here. Utility Director Olin Clausen.
Present.
President Kelly Milan.
Here.
And myself.
Okay, announcements?
Yeah, we've got some announcements. We've got Fall Fest this week. It starts on Thursday. And we've also got the Whiskey City Rodeo, starts on Thursday, runs through the weekend just like Fall Fest. You can go to Fall Fest website or Facebook page, as well as LMU's Facebook page or website to get information on that. There's a whole host of activities that are going to be taking place. We have increased as it pertains to the rodeo, we've increased the number of teams from 7 to 22 teams this year. We've got teams coming from as far away as Hawaii and Canada. We've got as many as 30 apprentices that are going to be participating in this year's event. And on Friday and Saturday, we've got at least 15 professional bull riders who will be here for the rodeo portion of the event. We have reduced ticket prices to $10. Kids 8 years and older or younger are free. And we hope that everybody has a good time.
All right. And everything starts Thursday for that as well?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other announcements than that?
Yeah,
No, you're.
Mayor, I'd like to make a few comments. The last month or so, you know, we're all out there talking to people. Frankly, I've been trying to defend all of us. It's hard when the allegations are made about us doing so many wrongdoings. You know, there's $10 million unaccounted for. There's the different topics that we're getting scrutinized. We got $1 million poll. People don't realize, and the allegations get put forth, and then people run with it. We've also had a situation right now to where I've noticed that we've got a lawyer, we've actually got two lawyers representing a utility company. We've got our city attorney, Mr. Weldon, and we have agreed quite a while back that Mr. Nyberger would be handling some city attorney business. Well, I noticed in an email that Mr. Weldon's questioning some bills and wanting not to use Mr. Nyberger. Well, I'm gonna ask all our councilmen here, this is, tonight it's Utility Service Board members. All 6 of us, the mayor and the members, and we've got an elected official here, clerk treasurer. We're not making any decisions, fellas. We're not backing our decisions up. We have hired this person, and we've hired him to do us a job. I think he's doing a good job, but yet we aren't allowed to have a say whether we keep his services or not. I want some decisions made tonight, and I do not want to leave this meeting without everyone in the audience, everyone that writes these articles in the Cincinnati Enquirer, and all the questions that are happening right now about us cleared up. Because this $1 million poll is not just a $1 million poll. There was a whole lot of work that went around it, and I don't know whether people watched or not, but they dug, they put a conduit bank in it, they have a pole, they had all kinds of people there working. Fellas, in today's world of construction, $1 million isn't a whole lot of money anymore. As far as the $10 million that we're so far unaccounted for, I can't help but think about the last meeting when I was in, and I get home and I think, why didn't I ask my accountant? I got 2 accountants in the audience, but yet here I am listening to a lawyer that has no educational background at all about accounting and other people, but yet I didn't ask one question to my accountants. And Kelly, all of us are suffering because of this. Every one of us sitting up here right now, and I know we've all had to answer these questions. And they shouldn't be anything bad about anything what we're doing. 8 years ago, before this man would have got here, this would have been riverboat money funded. It wouldn't have been a question, and shame on us for a utility director that has managed somehow or another at one point to have a $10 million amount of money in his account, because for that, I can remember Mel always giving us reports that we were in the red. So bad job, Olin. I'm ashamed of you for doing what you're supposed to do. And then all of a sudden, how this money disappears is because we were all in a real good mood and everything was cheerful. We're going to put fiber in this town, and we're going to bring things to people. And does anybody think for a second that stuff comes free? We didn't go out and bond this project. We didn't go out and do this. He has changed out all the poles because of different reasons. We've done work. How many fiber optic cities have you done? I know the answer to that: 0. Did we think that this was going to go off without a hitch? We used this money to sponsor and support a fiber utility, and yet all we hear is negative. Everybody has dropped their positivity on everything we've done, and we've got so much to be proud of here, but all we're getting is a bunch of bad articles and a bunch of, I sit in kitchens for an hour to an hour and a half explaining where this money's at. This money is every bit of it is accountable for. So there's one thing I want done here tonight, and I don't want to leave this room until it's done, is I want all of us to make decisions, because we haven't been making them. We've been letting the law firm make these decisions and accusations. We are not allowed to bring people forth to explain these things, but yet we have to watch and read the articles in the newspaper, and I have to walk out in public and explain these things. I would like it to be over with. I'd like us to work together. I always wanted us to work together. We've done a pretty good job, and this is a shame that this is going on because there's no reason for it. There's nothing wrong with the money. The rodeo's a good event. It ain't just a pole. It's a lot of work. And by the way, people, we still haven't softened the curb. The whole deal is to get that stuff moved, and we haven't talked to CenturyLink yet. So as far as it goes, we ain't spent all the money we're going to spend on this project. It's a project we all voted to do, and we got to do it. All I want is for us to make decisions tonight, and no matter what that decision is, we as a group need to make it. If we sit here and we don't say anything, then we're just going to get talked about more and more.
I'd like to make a comment if I could, Mayor, as a old lineman and a former utility director. The article in the Enquirer, if we're going to talk about the project, let's talk about the whole project. It isn't like Paul said, just moving a pole. When you look at that new pole, do you see wires going around the corner overhead, except for the cable and the phone company? No. So somehow those wires had to disappear, and that's with the conduit bank. And I think that Mr. Clausen also put in conduits for the phone company and the cable company and the fiber company.
That's correct.
So there's more than just one conduit in there. And when you start digging in Lawrenceburg, you really don't know what you're going to run into. You might run into a car or rocks or foundations of a house. You just don't know. Water. So if we're going to put something in the newspaper, let's describe everything, not just moving pole cost $1 million or 1.4, whatever it was. There was more to it than that. There's wire that has to be purchased. There are splices. There are termination kits that have to be purchased. They aren't cheap. The conduit running up the pole, that's not cheap stuff. It's not like thin wall that you go down to Lowe's and buy off the shelf. So if we're going to do that, then let's talk about the whole project. That's my comment.
Mel, I appreciate what you're saying, and I know James is in the audience tonight, and the article is written for the Enquirer. And one thing I will say is it's very difficult for the lay person to understand what a power project is and what all goes into it. There was a cost put out that a change of a pole is around $200,000, where we worked 6 poles, not just one, 6 poles. One of those poles was an engineered pole that the cost alone was $89,000, $90,000. We've also got 7 conduits running for several hundred feet apiece in what was a concrete parking lot that had to be sawn cut to be able to put that duct bank in. The one pole, the nearly $90,000 pole, sits on top of a 35-foot concrete pier. It took specialized equipment to come in and drill that pier to put it in place. Rebar cage had to be tied and set in place. And it had to be exact to the bolt pattern of the pole that was engineered. And along with that, these 7 conduits had to come up through that concrete slab and be in a perfect place to be able to go up the pole to reroute 9 conductors, all at 7,200 volts electricity. I think the customers associated with this project need to understand that we didn't take any outages except for one small outage for the bank. We did all this work hot in order to keep the customers on. That means there was roughly 99 differential points of contact on each of these poles we worked. That each one of those points has enough difference in potential to take the lives of the men who were working on it. It's very slow, very arduous work that had to be done. We had a single PMH 12 cabinet that's roughly $50,000 that sits there. Several thousand feet of key-right 500 MCM copper cabling. That's thousands upon thousands of dollars. And so to minimize this to a single pole being changed is really, it's a ridiculous statement. It was much, much more than that. And keep in mind, the only reason that we got into this in the first place at all was because we had a pole sitting on a corner that trucks were hitting that was deemed a risk to the public, that was deemed a risk to the people and on the streets and the people driving the trucks. And we've seen evidence of this here lately with a truck that just hit it, and we have a parking lot that's not accessible. There's cables that are hanging down that you can watch. Anybody in this room could walk up to them and grab them. We've received dozens upon dozens of calls over this. People concerned, parents concerned, mothers and fathers concerned. And at this point, because of everything that's going on, I really don't know what to tell them. Because in the past, I would tell them that we'd take care of it, we'd fix it. But it seems like when we try to help a problem, fix a problem, we get slammed for it. And if we don't do anything about a problem, we get slammed for it as well. And so the morale in my department is down quite a bit, because these guys worked for months to try to rectify these problems and fix these problems. And keep in mind, this was not our job. But there were some concerns that were levied on this project going all the way back to February 6th. And some of the bullet points in this document were questions. Number one, what is the total project cost estimated to be? Number two, what are the time frames associated with the project's completion? Number three, what input, if any, has the other affected stakeholders offered towards a project or how best to approach it? And number four, what are the cost-benefit ratios based on the mentioned criteria? This is in February 6th. The person that raised those questions was me. I directed this to the mayor and council because we were just a few weeks into this project and we'd already experienced about $200,000 in cost. And I thought, this is probably too much money to spend on this type of a project. And so I sent an email out asking for response, asking for some guidance and some assistance. I went on to say that I want to go on the record and show that I'm not okay. I'm not okay with how this project's been handled, nor am I okay with the costs that it's had on LMU and the ratepayers. I wanted to make a matter of record that I did not like the project. I didn't like the fact that this project was laid on our lap to complete. And the only response I got out of this, the only response was from the mayor. He said, "Thanks, Olin. I will address with Mike Clark." Now, maybe he addressed with Mike Clark, maybe he didn't, and I'm not here to question you. But I was never approached about what that conversation was or could have been or what else to do, other than here's a project that needs completed, and we did everything that we were asked to do to complete the project. Again, we did everything that we thought we were supposed to be doing, everything that we were asked to do, and we've taken a lot of criticism over this, and this thing has been dummied down to a single pole being moved. Well, if you take the article for what it's worth, a pole cost is $200,000. We moved 6 poles. That's $1.2 million. That doesn't take into account all of the underground that we did, all the cabling that we did, all of those saw cuts that we did, all the concrete duct banks that we did on top of all of that. The right-of-ways that had to be surveyed in, which, so everyone knows, Pillar Law Group did the recording of those things. Zach, you helped us record those easements. At no time did I ever think that we were doing something that was not blessed by the city and the people who run it. We were only trying to assist.
these bills been paid?
Yes, they have.
Will there be a point in this meeting tonight where, a proper point, where the utility board could take a vote on whether to present this to council to be paid and reimbursed, the ratepayers of the city of Lawrenceburg to be reimbursed? Because the way I understand it, somebody tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe since the first bills came out, there has been talk, and I think we have, I think we're pretty good on our bill here now. Am I right or wrong?
That's right.
And that conversation went on between who? Colin, can you stand up and let?
So after the meeting, they told Richard and myself to get together, and we have multiple times gotten together, and we've rectified the situation, and we've come to an agreement on what we think the price of the bill should be. And I have copies of that for everybody, if you'd like one.
I would like to take the time right now to make a motion that the utility board okays this bill.
Paul, can you do that during new business instead of during announcements?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, first I want to hear Richard. Richard, is it all in agreement now?
I can make a statement on it if you'd like. Clerk Treasurer's office did meet with Colin. However, myself and Colin do not have the ability to cut a deal. We cannot determine what the mayor or legal counsel would do. Although we are in agreement to some of the charges, we have a legal opinion stating that we cannot pay the bill. It is also true that we do not have an appropriation for this amount of money. Clerk Treasurer's office does not have the authority to initiate an additional appropriation. So at that point, we can be in agreement, but there are still those hurdles that should be overcome. It is also true that we are unable to verify the actual work logs from Sergeant Electric as to the work that was done on 4th and Front Street. This makes up over $400,000 of the actual invoice. We asked for the documentation, and an employee was sent to give a verbal verification that the work was done on 4th and Front Street for a 15-week period by Sergeant Electric. Now, while I do trust the employee, I do think that moving forward, the board should be aware that there's no actual documentation which has been made available to us to verify the work. We just asked for work logs from Sergeant Electric, but they said they were not available. So that's where we would be on it. But yes, the overtime was taken off. The benefits paid by the city were also removed, and the 40% administration fee and 20% that was on one particular set of invoices, that was removed as well.
And just so the record reflects correctly, it would have been a 20% administration fee, and the 40% would have been on all the materials that we provided, which is standard for what we do. But we removed those.
We agree on that. Those were removed, yes.
Okay. Would you be able to get the work logs home from
Tony, we have all the work logs. Mike Harper and myself direct those guys on where to go and where to work. We feel that we're conservative in those numbers. We also did not, and I think Mike explained this to you, that they brought in a crane truck that would have been a several $1,000s rental for the project. They did that at no charge to us, and so we did not charge for that. And so we feel we've been very conservative as to the number of days that we attributed Sergeant to the project. We've gone back through our journal entries to try to come up, and we spent quite a bit of time going back through that, trying to document the amount of time that we'd spent on that project. And so we feel confident that the amount of time that we've billed for that is accurate.
Would those work logs be for Sergeant Electric or just the LMU employees?
No, Sergeant doesn't present us with a work log. Obviously, that's something that maybe we would think about in the future, but we currently didn't. We went off of basically the people that we had on site at the time, the daily journal entries that we had, and what we were working on the project at the time, And we feel that those are very conservative timeframes for that amount of work. That was a massive undertaking. It was a massive amount of work that was done. It wasn't by any means just a simple pole relocation, half a block up or within the same block. This was a major project. Mel?
Yeah, I have a question. 2 questions. Does Lawrenceburg have the equipment to dig the footer hole for that pole?
No, this project is not a project, Mel, that the city itself would have ever undertaken.
Does Lawrenceburg have the equipment to set the pole once the footer is stabilized?
No, not at all.
Does Lawrenceburg have enough people, once that pole is set and the wire is dead-ended, and if you all don't understand what I'm talking about, raise your hands and I'll try to explain it to you. Once that wire is dead-ended and the terminations are made, to reroute that and remove the feed and get the feed across to the school?
We probably could do some of that, Mel, but you have to understand that we're also in the middle of a big fiber project, as well as the everyday, day-to-day things that the utility has to do when people's power's cut, when things happen, transformers blow in other locations, meters are pulled, meters are set.
Was that accomplished, Olin, during the school time, or was it on the weekends, or at the evenings, or what?
During regular work hours and a few hours during the night.
Okay, so, and there was no outage?
No,
okay,
one
was done-
outage, we took
was
one
done
outage.
energized.
It was a very small outage for the bank, and that was to switch them over to a new transformer and new feed.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
I got
Thank
a
you.
small question, Owen. Could you tell everybody in here how many, I'm gonna call them foot soldiers you have working for you? How many people do you have that do the labor?
I've got 7 full-time journeymen.
You got 7 people. All right.
I got a question, Olin. So the work logs, you guys didn't ask the sergeant for them?
No, what they do, they bill us on a monthly basis, actually on a weekly basis.
Okay.
And
How
so
much is that?
It
How
depends.
much a month? 45,000 or
It
something?
depends. Depends on how many people they have here, how many are working.
On average?
I don't have the numbers in front of me.
And why didn't we get billed that average?
I think you did get billed the average based on the number of days we thought they were there.
$45,000 a month times, 15 weeks is just shy of 4 months?
I can tell you, we went back through the months that we thought they were there, and we looked at those numbers, and we attributed those. Look, we know when they were there on the project.
No, but what I'm asking is, it seems very loose, and maybe that's not the right word, but I'm sure that you require work logs from other projects that you have done. Am I correct?
No, we require performance guarantees.
Well,
Like,
let me back up. I'm sorry. Let me back up. I'm just trying to understand this from my perspective, okay?
Okay.
When you usually do projects, they get bid.
Yeah,
So
when
then you
it's
have
my project, they certainly do.
Yes. And then you get you know what you're gonna pay, correct?
Yeah, when they're my
find-
project, I know what I'm gonna pay.
Right. I find the answer of just saying that the work logs, that we're just going back through our journal entries to figure out what we're gonna charge the city for the work that was done on this. If it was 15 weeks, it was 15 weeks. I get that. But charge us what you're being charged by this company.
Well, I believe we charged you what we're being charged. Colin, is that not correct?
So the fiber project, you're getting charged the same rate. So it's not $45,000 a month for this company
It is $45,000 a week when they have a full.
when they have a full crew. But how did you know if they had a full crew or not? All those
Well,
weeks?
we know the people are on site. We've explained that to you. We know the people are on site.
I'm just asking a question.
So let's get back to the project in and of itself. This was not my project.
No, I agree. I agree
It was
with
not
that.
my
But
obligation to
I
bid the
can give
project.
a synopsis of that in my
Okay.
terms, if you'd like. Yes, it's a community crossings project, okay? It's community crossings is a grant program that the state offers where you can apply for X number of dollars. We qualify for if we come up with, say, $1 million worth of projects to be done with roads. We pay $250,000, we get $750,000, okay? To 75-25 because of the size of our city. 4th and Main was part of a community crossings project. That's one of the projects that we submitted. And what it was going to do is soften the curbs so we didn't have the problems with the trucks not being able to make the curves and everything else, all the way out to Main Street. But in order to do that, this pole needed moved.
That's correct.
But the pole needed moved before that. You will agree, right?
No, I don't necessarily agree with that. The metal pole that was wiped out and that's pulled out in the street is the oldest pole there.
Okay.
There's also a wooden pole that sits behind that that's never been struck by a car ever, which was where all of our overhead power lines were attached. Never been hit, not one time.
Okay.
We were perfectly happy with it being there.
Mm-hmm.
Was not at risk, but it was a problem for the softening project.
Okay. Okay. So that project came to be because it's part of a bigger project. This was part of the bigger project, correct? And we did agree, and it was in the meeting, that this pole's going to need to be moved, and there was some discussion. And the original paperwork for the grant stated that the pole cost was going to be $180,000. You recall that?
Pole,
Okay.
just the pole.
But here's the other piece, and that project is going to still happen, by the way. But here's the piece I don't understand is I agree, and Paul, you made some good comments. I agree that, you know, it's just not a pole move. I get that. I mean, and I don't know anything about electric and all that goes into that. So I know there's more to a project than that. But the thing is, Colin, I believe you made the comments in April and in June, what the costs were at that time. And I believe that it was approximately $1 million less than what the total cost came in.
It was about $400,000 at the latest, and then the actual bill cost ended up being $1 million. So it was roughly 40%.
No, the actual bill cost was 1.3.
That's after the fees. If we're going just on the cost that we
Right.
agreed on, it's only $1 million.
Right. So the 400,000 rose to $1 million. Any reason for that? You can explain to me so I can understand it?
I'm not a project manager.
Right.
I'm an accountant, so I have to go on what project managers tell me goes
Sure.
into a project. I'm the same as you, I don't know what goes
Right.
into a project.
I agree.
I would not be expected to know, so.
Okay. All right. So anyway, that's the gist of the project. This was part of a project within the project. You're right.
And you do realize that to complete this project, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars more that need to be spent. And I'm willing to bet that no consideration at all has been taken into undergrounding CenturyLink's or Comcast overhead lines related to that intersection.
Mhm.
Because based on my interactions with Mike Clark and the work that he's done, I've got a better chance of seeing Bigfoot riding his pet unicorn up the street than I am to have him have a completely engineered project.
Okay.
And
All right.
we've seen that before.
Yeah.
Well, here's
No,
the thing.
I'm not disagreeing.
On this
I know
memo,
what you're
or
saying, Paul.
on this he just handed out, it said that we spoke with CenturyLink's engineers back in February.
Yeah, I spoke with them, and they questioned me out on the street. It's in here. They questioned me out on the street and said, "What's going on with this project? We didn't know anything about it." And I said, "Guys," I said, as we discussed the other day, the project is a City of Lawrenceburg project being done under the direction of Mr. Mike Clark.
Yep.
CC'd in this email. LMU is one of a few stakeholders that are being impacted by the project and attempting to reroute to help facilitate the work on the corner, that is, i.e., 4th and Front Street. I talked with Mr. Clark last week and suggested, based on my conversations with you, that he arrange a meeting with all the affected parties so that each could undertake some planning and fact-finding associated with their outside plant.
Did he ever do that?
Not to my knowledge. Never said a word to me.
Pole's not moved yet, and
I know, well-
CenturyLink ain't working.
I agree with Olin here. The pole has to come down, and we've got to move these wires.
Yes.
So we got to move past this point somehow and get on and finish the thing. That pole's going to come down. It's going to hurt somebody.
Well,
Let me ask, Tony,
we
let me
can't-
ask, I got an idea. What if, Owen, we were to tell you that we want another pole set up on that corner to take care of our problem right now in the same spot? Because, let's say those people haven't been contacted yet.
A temporary pole, you mean, or something?
Tim, well, same pole maybe, but let's fix it. If somebody hits it, we'll deal with it, but right now, Tony, you are right. Something has to be done. So we're here to make a decision tonight. There's two of them. I think that we should be replacing that pole, and we should get those wires back up to where they should be, and then we should be saying, look, get on it. Let's get this thing done. CenturyLink we need to know what that's gonna be at this point. It's a good time to negotiate this job. I'm sure we're gonna take it here. But we gotta get this done.
Now,
You know,
if we put that
have
pole,
to.
if we put that pole in the same place, does that endanger the grant that we got originally?
Well, I think Paul's suggesting is a temporary pole
Temporary
pole.
be able to remove the
I can do that. I've got a question for Mel. Mel,
yes.
how far back can you remember this project being suggested?
Oh, my gosh. We moved that pole there on Main Street.
L.E. Myers moved the pole.
Yeah,
$375,000 to move the single pole.
right. Because we had to reroute some cable. We
That's
had to
right.
do it hot.
We moved 6 of
To
them.
the year, I can't remember the year.
Well,
My point is,
I can,
Okay,
because that's the year they formed a historic committee here.
yeah.
And we went over there in that area, and I wanted to put those two houses on
Those two
our
houses,
historic map.
Yeah.
And Mike says, no, we're not doing that in the town yet. We have some plans, and I found out that's what their plans were. They were gonna soften that curve. That was 2010 or 2009 late.
Okay.
my point is, this has obviously been on Mike's dashboard since 2009. I was first made aware of it in 2015, and I did everything I was asked to do to help facilitate that corner being softened. And so I'll go put a new pole up, but it's an embarrassment that I have to. It's an embarrassment that Mike Clark doesn't have plans ready to go to underground the rest of those facilities where a temp pole does not have to be put back in place. But I'll go put one back up.
All right.
But that's an embarrassment.
Well, answer me this. Can we do the underground instead of putting the pole up? I just want to get the pole out, gone. Can we do the underground facilities for it?
I
For
can answer.
CenturyLink and,
They won't let you, Tony, because there's splicing involved.
This is their main connection
They
all the way to
won't allow us
Madison, Indiana.
well, why can't we get them down here to do it? Or-
I think we could have if somebody would have communicated
Right.
to them. That wasn't my job. It's not my project.
I know, that's why I asked you earlier, was there ever a meeting, and you said no, so, but can we move forward and get a meeting with them to get something done with it?
Well, first off, Kelly, whose project was it?
Mike Clark.
Okay, then Tony, that's the guy we need to ask at the next meeting.
Then we still got a pole that's bent.
I
We
say,
can take care of that temporarily.
We go ahead and take care of that temporarily.
Yeah, I can get the guys to go over there and take care of it temporarily. We can certainly do that. I'm just embarrassed that we're having to.
Well, I don't like spending extra money, but it's just, it's ridiculous, but it's unsafe. We have to do
Agreed.
something. So, if we agree with this bill, my question is, Richard, will you pay it? Because I don't want to have another meeting because it's,
There's no appropriation to pay the bill, so I can't pay the bill.
the city council makes appropriation.
City council can't make the appropriation. It has to come from the mayor's office.
I gotta see those work logs.
I knew the question would be the work logs. Olin, is there any way you can get work logs from the sergeant?
Otherwise, they're pulling numbers out of the air.
No, we're not. But if that's the nail you want to hang your hat on, that's fine.
Yes, it is.
That's fine.
2-3 weeks
Well, first of
ago
all,
at a
no, wait
meeting-
a minute. Olin, can we get work logs from sergeant?
Tony, we sat down. I've got all the work hours that Sergeant spent here. We sat down and went through them. Myself, Mike Harper, Eric Webster, Crystal, went through those and pulled out. And like I said, we felt we were very conservative in those numbers. Based on the people that we had there, the other contractors, our own personnel, we felt like we had been very conservative in the numbers we pulled forward on that project. And I know that's right because I got thinking about the things we didn't bill for. There's quite a bit of prep work that we didn't bill the city for, like the inline fuses that we put in on 50, right on 50 and 4th Street to facilitate the job. We didn't bill for those. Didn't bill you any material for those either. So, and it's real funny that we want to nitpick the utility on the things that we will or won't do. We just assisted with all of Hollywood Boulevard. Every single one of those lights got put up. I didn't send you a single bill for it. We did $250,000 worth of work for Civic Park. Never sent you a bill for it. We did $180,000 worth of work up on Pribble. Never sent you a bill for it. But all of a sudden, when we send a bill, then you want to drive tax in what we charge you guys. That's real funny.
Well, no, the only thing I was questioning, Olin, from the beginning was the bill escalated from 400,000 to 1.3 something. So obviously, I think that was my position was to question that.
Well,
And
I
that's
sure wish
exactly-
you'd have questioned it back February 6th when I asked you to.
You know what? There's a lot of things we probably could have done differently.
But you never even, did you meet with Mike Clark? Because you never told me if you did.
Yes, I did.
And what was the
Speaking of
outcome?
which, I'm gonna interrupt you two because I got a question. We just did this about 3 weeks ago on a different project.
What's that?
We might have made a mistake. You brought up that we want to explore the possibility of doing some work up on the hill
Yep.
and that. You know what? We never asked him what he was gonna spend. We never asked one question what that was gonna cost. Right now, that man has got an open ticket to explore this and turn in any bills he wants from professional services, and we never asked one question. Now, do you think that's gonna be a $10,000 project? We turned him loose again, and guess what? Has he contacted you yet to find out what it's gonna take utility-wise to do that work?
Not one time.
Now, I know it's a little early yet, and maybe he shouldn't have contacted him yet, but I can tell you, as a group, we gotta get smarter, cause we just turned him loose on another project, and he ain't real good at running them. Period. Pribble Road, this man had to go do Pribble Road because we already had the road tore out, and all of a sudden he gets told, hey, your pools are in the way, you need to get up there and move them.
And my water
Now,
line.
if I would have ran a job like that, I'd have been done with one store. And I don't understand how come he doesn't get criticized, and all we've had here is a utility director that has improved on our situation, put money in there to where we could get this fiber utility going, which is gonna benefit this city for years to come. It's not just a one-day income here that's gonna go away, and yet, no wonder the monies went down. He's paid all the bills for Front Street. They're there, he's looking at them. He's paid all the bills for Pribble. He's improved the telephone. Most cities would have had to went to the bond bank, would have been paying the interest, but no, we were able to do this, and by the way, 6 or 8 months ago, we were all pretty happy about the project. And here we are today. Why can't we move past this? You can't tell me there hadn't been other projects done before to where me and you ain't wondered where the money went. And this is very visible, Kelly, and you know good and well that me and you don't know anything about the utility business. That work that went in over there, I rode by it every day. I spend money over there every day at the Conservancy. We just spent $450,000 tearing out concrete. And yet we're questioning highly skilled labor working with the kind of things they went, and we're making a big deal out of this. This is ridiculous.
Okay. Any more announcements?
However you want to do this, let's make a vote and quit talking. We're looking stupider as this meeting goes on.
Yeah. Any more announcements?
No.
If not, entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports?
Colin Browning, committee report.
So I passed everybody out a folder today. It has all our rodeo information to date, some financials, and a study on our rates compared to the rest of the utilities in Indiana. We'll start with the rodeo. To date, we have total revenues of $143,752.44. Our total expenses to date are $90,816.50 for a total 2019 rodeo profit so far of $52,935.94. You can see the breakdown on sponsorships, booth rentals, entry fees, merchandise sales so far. So I think we're pretty much finished with our sponsorships. I think we've got everything that we're going to get. Booth rentals, the same. We're pretty much where we're going to be. Entry fees, the same, but merchandise sales and tickets, obviously, won't really happen until the rodeo starts this week. The second page goes through our budget. And as you can see, we have $13,983.50 remaining in the budget. If you go back to the first page, our total balance of the rodeo is $15,449.50. So if we spend that $13,000, we will essentially pay off the rodeo from last year and this year and be at basically zero.
So I want to clarify. My staff's gone out and worked their tails off to raise enough money to not only pay for this year's rodeo, but assume the debt that we had left over from last year.
That's correct. Okay, so the next page, this is something new that Olin and I have decided to start giving you guys, is a financial update at every meeting. That way everybody is aware of where the utility is, so nobody can be surprised. It'll just be more transparent, better for everybody. First page is our statement of net assets, which is essentially our balance sheet. You can see the cash is up in electric to $929,000. That's up roughly $40,000 from last month. Total combined cash between all the utilities is $9,038,021. Total current assets of all the utilities are $15,941,044. Total liabilities for all utilities, $6,211,618. So our total net asset, or our total is roughly $9 million. So if you look up in the receivables in electric, that's where, when they talk about the $10 million gone missing, that's where this is accounted for. In that receivables at $6.4 million, $4.1 million is to the fiber loan. We've got miscellaneous invoices out to Intrapac and other businesses of $191,000. And our billing from 8/29, it was $1.5 million, which accounts for that
And we also have a substantial amount uncollected.
$600,000 of uncollected electric bills. So,
Is related to ongoing litigation.
yes.
Which I'd like to bring that up later. On this ongoing litigation, we were going to try and settle both of those.
We're going to try, Tony, that's
So,
correct. You're
Do you
on
have
that.
any idea when those meetings, because I was going to meet with one and Mr. Seymour was going to meet with the other one?
I think Greg can address that maybe a little later on.
All right.
And then the other portion you can see down in the construction work in progress. That is where all ongoing projects are accounted for. These are things that are in progress not finished yet, so they're not up in our regular capital assets. So this kind of makes it easier for you guys to see $10 million is not gone. $10 million has been reinvested in our system to keep our system young, and I think any city or utility would be interested in that.
And I will say that's per plan, and I'll also point out that back in May, Colin and I were having discussions about the fact that we had a substantial customer, approximately 80% of our customer revenue, that wasn't paying the bills. And we started making plans then to look at what we're trying to install in terms of fiber, what we're trying to do in rehabilitation of our system, and how we could program that and turn things around without breaking the bank. We had a report in here one day, I think given by Dell, saying we're down to $600-some thousand. We're now bounced back to close to $1 million. We expect that to continue to climb. And this is because Colin and I are talking on a daily basis about the finances. I'm talking with my department heads on a daily basis about the finances. And so I know it was kind of put in the paper that maybe our interest in getting paid for 4th and Front Street was because of these financial, turmoil. Has nothing to do with it. We billed because we're owed that money. Nothing to do with trying to make the utility solvent. The utility's going to be fine. We billed because we felt we were owed the money. Colin?
Okay, so if you flip to the next page, we have our income statement year to date. Just high level, electric operating revenue, 10.1 million, water, 1.1 million, sewer, 2.2 million, and fiber is 36,000. And then you can see our operating income in electric, 387,000. Water, we've lost 33,000. Sewer is a profit of 337,000. Fiber to date is a loss of 183,000 for a total combined for the utilities of 507,000. And I'm sorry, that's operating income, not net income. And then the next page is just a month-to-date income statement. That way you guys will be able to see not just year-to-date, but you can also see month-to-date numbers. The page after that is something, it's basically a bunch of key performance indicators that similar utilities will use to kind of measure their financial performance.
Question?
Yeah.
I'm on page 4.
Okay.
Looking at the operating income and losses.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, I see the water company has lost $33,013. Is that because of the rates, or is that?
No, if we look at the forecast through the budget for the rest of the year, we should break even. So it's just an issue of right now, we're at a loss. No,
Yeah,
we should make a profit by the end of the year.
Yeah, the water utility, I mean, if we're going to get into discussion about rates, look, nobody wants a rate increase. Nobody likes to pay for their utilities, let's be frank. But when it comes to rates for the state of Indiana and probably the tri-state area, Lawrenceburg enjoys some of the least expensive rates as it relates to water, sewer, and electricity as the entire state. Last analysis we ran was in 2015, and we have not had a rate study or a rate increase on electric since then, or water or sewer. But on electric in 2015, there were only 6 other utilities that had lower costs for electricity than Lawrenceburg. And some of those, like Auburn, for example, hadn't had a rate increase for almost 20 years, if you can believe that. And their rate's like 6-some cents a kilowatt hour. I mean, they're not buying it for that. I can promise you, not buying it for that. So how they're doing it, I don't know. I'm sure they've probably done something since then. So if we were 6th cheapest or most affordable in 2015, I can assure you we're better than 6th today. I could run another report and show you that information, but my point is, when it comes to the water, nobody's getting rich here. When it comes to sewer, we made all of $65,000 net last year on sewer. We're not charging much for those things.
Well, I'm going to ask Olin that you have one of your employees or 2 or whatever do a survey of surrounding areas, Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, of combined utility costs, what does it cost for Duke and Cincinnati Water and Cincinnati Sewer and whatever else they charge? And a comparative study?
I've actually got something for
Oh, have
just,
you?
for just the electric. We don't have water and sewer,
Okay.
but I'll go over that in
I
a little
would
bit.
like to see it combined.
Yeah, I agree. I
We
think
can
that'd be
get that,
good.
Mel.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. But this next page is a bunch of key performance indicators. One important one I think to look at is our purchase power gross margin here at the bottom. This is basically showing how efficient we are at selling the energy that we purchase from IMPA. And you can see we're up 10% from last year. Also revenue per kilowatt hour. We are right on with the benchmarks provided by Public Power Agency, American Public Power Agency. So you can take a look through this. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to answer them. And then the next 3 pages, I won't go through them all. They are comparative income statements for electric, water, and sewer. I don't have one for fiber because it's hard to compare. I mean, we're not really to that point yet. But it compares August of 19 to August of 18, and then August year to date, month to date, and then it compares year to date August of 18 to August of 19 for electric, water, and sewer. And then the last 2 pages are a cash balance breakdown to show where we are, where we have been all the way back from December of 2018. And then like I was just talking about, the next packet is showing our comparative electric rates compared to the average of IMPA members.
Which page was that on?
That's in this next packet.
Okay, I got it. All right.
So that shows our rates for residential bills are lower than every single other category. That's IMPA, AEP, Duke, Indianapolis Power and Light, Northern Indiana Power, Vector, and Energy. Residential rates are substantially lower at every class. Commercial general service is the same, and large commercial and industrial is also. And this is basically 4 pages of different types of analysis showing where our rates are compared to the rest of the state. Any questions?
Nice, easy question. What's your education?
I have a bachelor's in finance.
Who did you used to work for?
I'm sorry?
Who did you used to work for?
The Indiana State Board of Accounts.
I'm one of them guys that, you know, hell, I'm just an ordinary guy and I don't know all this stuff. So I'm one of the people that got elected to sit here and I hope trust to who we had around us and hope that we got smart enough people to make sure that things are going right. And you've got the education, and I know, Richard, you've got some people in your office that are college educated in the accounting businesses. And I would just hope that all of us would have, you know, them speak up more, because I've learned when my lawyer needs an expert, he goes and gets one. He doesn't, you know, I know they're not trained in finances, but I hope the people of Lawrenceburg can relax a little bit tonight, because there's nothing wrong. Everything's running good, and we're good here in Lawrenceburg. I think we're real good. And I'm gonna call on you more often to explain these things, and I want permission to do that, and I will not be stopped.
I'm more than happy to.
I appreciate you coming up and making them statements.
Anytime.
Thanks, Kyle. Any other committee reports? Mr. Watson?
Mushtaba has a report on the fiber. Tony, you'd requested some information.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the council, for listening to my fiber updates.
The note on this one page here, the second page says note approximately 2.5 months to complete all of Lawrenceburg.
Yes, sir. We'll get through that as soon as I start the presentation.
That's not the individual drop, so.
Can I help you, Mish?
I just want to make sure it's Okay, let's just get right down to it. The purpose of this is to give a little update on the fiber to the home. I know there's a lot of anxious customers ready to get hooked up and are curious as to when they're going to have the opportunity to get internet through the utility. First slide is essentially the build-out progress. What I've got, I broke it down into 4 essential steps. One is the underground construction, one is overhead construction, one is the splicing, and then the drop closures. So we have, on the underground, we have a total of 8.5 miles. We've got 2.5 miles complete, 6 to be done, just a little under 30%. That underground construction will take approximately 18 days to complete. The overhead construction, there's a total of 18 miles, a little over 8.5 completed, about 9.5 to go. So we're looking at about a little shy of 50% complete. That takes 19 days to complete. The splicing, and this involves all the splitter boxes, all the coyote boxes. This is really one of our biggest bottlenecks. There was a total of 47 of the splitter boxes that need to be complete. We have 11 completed and 36 left to go. That is 23%. Yes, sir.
The estimated days to complete, is that with the current staffing?
That is with current staffing.
Okay, thank you.
And I can get into a little bit of the methodology to determine how many days, but basically I've just been watching our crews. It takes approximately 2 to 3 days to do a splitter box.
I understand.
And if you got 36, that's how long it takes. With respect to the drop closures, those are the little boxes. They're either, the ATC stands for aerial termination closure, the GLC is the ground level closure. Our staff can do, and this, we've got 2 guys that are dedicated to this, and they can do 2 each a day. So we're looking at about 4 a day complete.
Would you explain to these folks
How it works?
the process?
Mm-hmm. So,
Once you get the fiber down the street,
yep.
from that point to the house to energizing the fiber,
Okay.
so that someone can
So the process for that is first, obviously, construction guys will hang the fiber optic cable. Actually, before they even put the cable up, they will put messenger wire or lashing wire, and then they'll attach the fiber to the strength membrane.
Right.
Once that's complete,
Now that's a 3-step process, right?
yep. First, you got to put the lashing wire, or first you got to put the strand.
Right.
Then you got to lash the fiber onto the strand.
Right.
And then various locations strategically placed throughout the city, there are these junction boxes, and each one of those will have
Big box that's on the pole.
so those, there's 2. Those are primarily for the backbone. We're talking about the big coyote boxes.
Okay.
That's where all the backbone splicing is complete.
Okay.
That's our large 288 line.
Okay. Well, because I'm trying to help these people understand the
Okay.
process also.
And then we have other, which are splitter boxes. So for those that are not familiar with fiber, it's just glass and light shooting through the glass very fast. And light, you can break down each I guess would be considered color of light or lambda, like if you guys are familiar with the rainbow, for AGB is red, orange. Anyways, current technology allows the light going through the glass to be broken into 32 different wavelengths. So we're talking 32 different colors of light. Each one of those wavelengths or lambdas can carry up to 10 gigs of traffic. And that's upgradable to 100 gigs. That's how the system was designed, so that as Lawrenceburg grew, and we wanted to make sure that we didn't build something that would only last 10, 20 years. With technology and bandwidth consumption is just increasing at a astronomical rate. So we have the capability of pulling out the 10 gig cards and putting in the 100 gigs. So anyways, besides the splitter boxes, and the reason it's called a splitter box is we have the splitters in there so we can split the fiber even farther, because even our backbone, it's 288 fibers, but there's a lot more homes that you don't want to waste a whole fiber for one customer. You want to get at least 32 times 30, at least close to 1,000 customers per fiber. And with technology, that'll increase more. The main bottleneck is the ATCs. And even though our guys can do 4 a day, those same guys also have to do the drops to the home. So once the fiber is up and it's lashed on to the messenger, and all the splitter boxes and the large coyote boxes are up, there still has to be a way to actually drop the fiber into a home. And that's where these ATCs and GLCs come into play. And each ATC, and there's just a little box, and you'll see them all around town on the poles themselves, or on the fiber and the poles. Those can split. We can do approximately 12 homes per box. We do 6, so for whatever reason, if a fiber got cut.
Both sides of the street, yeah.
Correct. Now, in certain cases, if we only have poles on one side and there's home on the other side, we will drop the cable to the ground and then trench it or bore it depending on the particular premise.
So if the poles are on the left side of the street and I live on the right side of the street,
we're going to do an underground drop.
Well, let me back up. If you're served overhead, you're probably going to get an overhead service to the house.
Let's assume I'm not.
If you're underground, you're going to get it underground. We're not going to put a wire in your yard.
Correct. So as I put a note on here, approximately, so 2.5 months to complete, because these can be done all at the same time. So it's not like we've got to, get all the fiber constructed and then wait and do all the splicing and then wait and do all the drop closures. These can all be done at the same time. So you're looking at approximately 2.5, 3 months to complete the entire city of Lawrenceburg. That does not include the individual drops to each home, though. And that they can do, right now on average, they've been doing 2 solid a day, 3 on good days, days where they have to do ATCs and a home. You're looking at 1, maybe 1.5, but on average, it's 2, maybe 2.5.
And how big are those fibers that carry the light?
They're just slightly thinner than a hair follicle. So, yeah, if I had any, I could pull one out and show you.
I know, that's why I pulled mine.
So it's a lot of tedious and time-consuming work, and it involves a lot of patience. So.
And how do you determine which fiber you're using if you're going down the street?
Well, that was all designed before the fiber to the home was laid out. So in my office, I have splicing. Well, actually, on my computer, because I can show you a splice diagram what it would look like.
No, I know how to do it, but
okay.
These folks don't.
Okay. Well, I could show them if you're looking at the screen.
Yeah.
Let me just put up. So here's a typical cabinet. So it's kind of hard to see, but each one of those lines, so in like the coyote box I was just mentioning, each one of those will have a bunch of fibers in it, and depending on where it's being sliced and which direction it's going, that's what we have to do inside those Coyote boxes. And I can make it bigger, but so we're looking at, so certain spots where we've got multiple cables coming in, so you're looking at 500 plus splicing. And each splice is, it's a tedious process. We first clean the actual cable, which has protection layers on it. Get to the bare glass, and at that point, you know, it has to be cleaned, polished.
Cutting the glass.
I'm sorry?
Without cutting the glass, right?
Without cutting, and so some of the problems we came up with early last year when we first started doing is, if it's below 32 degrees, that fiber is very, it's thin glass, and it's extremely brittle. So if it's below freezing, I recommend it, especially up on a pole. Our guys cannot do that. Or there's just, people can't, you don't splice when it's below freezing
Have to
because
drop it into
you
a
can't
trailer.
wear gloves either.
Right.
So, you know, imagine being up on in a bucket truck on a pole when it's below freezing and it's windy and you're trying to splice two fibers. When they first did that, they broke a bunch. And I was like, yeah, you can't do this,
Yeah.
you know, when it's that cold. So they learned that, you know, they just need to be patient, because if they try to do it quick, stuff breaks. And then it's 10 times more work.
Sure.
So, but this is an example of a typical
So it's very tedious work.
splice.
Yeah.
Yep. That kind of gives you an idea what's going on inside those Coyote boxes.
I got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
We've got 375 people signed up wanting it, and you got 80 completed. From what I've been hearing, the only people that are griping about our fiber are the ones that don't have it yet.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, my next question is have you guys been getting any feedback from the people that do have it? Are you doing any polls? Are you doing any
Yeah,
research?
we've had people we had one customer who had a competitor. She does home transcriptioning for medical records, and their fiber got cut. Or their copper line to the home got cut. The competitor told them it would be 3 weeks. 3
For
weeks.
them to send a pole or a truck to look at it.
3 weeks for them to send a truck down to fix the problem. We had them on our system the next day or 2 days later.
It was today because it was an underground drop. So for every underground drop, we have to call in 811 Indiana Underground Protection Services. By law, we have to wait 48 hours before we can do any work ourselves.
So this customer went from paying well over $100 per month for that copper drop to her home to paying what?
I believe she went with a 100 meg service, which was $54.95.
So we saved her approximately $50+ per month, and she's got a connection that she could, just with calling us, we could ratchet up to 1 gig. And she's able to do business and conduct business the way that she wants to. We also connected on a DIA customer, which is a dedicated internet access customer, Savista Bank, yesterday.
Friday.
Corporate office is very pleased with that. This was kind of the test for us. The rest of the Savista banks that are within our area, they would like for us to start looking at connecting those. Look, we're the only fiber optic connection to the home in Southeast Indiana. The fastest speed that you can get on copper is 250 meg. It's going to cost you about $150 to $300, depending on the package that you get. Our most expensive package is 75 and change. So all the customers that we have on the system that I've spoken with have been extremely satisfied with the product that we're providing them. Again, the complaint we get is we just can't get there quick enough. People are wanting to sign up, and we just don't have the ability to get to them quick enough. We're working as quickly as we can. We still believe our numbers are accurate. We thought initially 75% of the homes in Lawrenceburg had an internet connection of some sort. And based on our market research, we thought we could get 70 to 75% of those homes turned to LMU customers. We've been in some pretty, I would consider, lengthy negotiations with people like the DoubleTree and others, Pregnancy Care Center, who our competitors wanted. They aggressively went after them. And we've been able to sign contracts with those entities to take over all of their fiber, all of their internet connectivity. from those other competitors. And we're doing that because, number one, they know where to find us. You know, you can stand out on a street corner and one of my trucks is going to go by probably in the next 15, 20 minutes. So just like we're rated in the top percentiles, top 1%, actually 1/10 of 1% tiles in the United States for electric utilities and our reliability, we are trying to push that same level of customer support, that same level of service to the fiber customers as we do the electric customers. Same guys, same trucks responding by and large, and so we're trying to put the same importance and the same dedication to service on that as we do the electric.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. So, back to the presentation. So, next slide. Okay, so overall costs to date, and so we'll start with the data center, and you guys can confirm these numbers with our accountant Colin. So, you know, there was like almost 4 million spent on the data center. The actual backbone, 1.8, and then fiber to the home. So basically, we've spent a little over $4 million, and that includes a state-of-the-art data center, our main trunk line, the backbone, as well as the fiber to the home project. Now, in order to finish all of Lawrenceburg, these are the estimated capital requirements. So we've got, for the actual construction, we're looking at approximately $850,000 to finish all of Lawrenceburg. And then that does not include the customer premise equipment. These are your ONTs and the modems or routers that go into the homes. You're looking at about $333,000 for those. Now, that customer premise equipment, we buy those gradually. We don't go out and just buy one for every home in Lawrenceburg. I buy approximately 100 at a time with the understanding with the manufacturer that I am going to, at some point, purchase these all, and I want the discounted rate for if you buy over 1,000 at a time. So we buy the routers and the optical network terminals. As soon as I get under, if I've only got down to 20, I order another 100 more. And that's how we're going to continue doing that, because we don't want to spend all that money right away. The other item that I feel is critical, and right now, unfortunately, we don't have the funds available to do it, but as we grow, it's something that is extremely important. And that is another protection ring, so that we don't have just a single point of failure. And that is, it's a large build out. It involves engineering, it involves getting right away, and the cost is almost $300,000 for that, $283,500. And then with projects, any sort of large scale project, there's always going to be some bumps along the road, and so there is a 10% contingency that was added to that. So you're looking at it, you know, almost $1.6 million. And keep in mind, there's another note here that these estimated costs do not reflect or take account the requirements for any additional services the city would like. And that comes as we're talking about any sort of subsidized or free Wi-Fi that you would like to see at the parks, at the less affluent housing communities, and so forth, or for any surveillance security systems that the city might want added, i.e. your cameras and so forth, or the obviously future build to Greendale, which is really right now not something we'd like to talk about. Okay. Your funding options, and this goes back, I'm just gonna read the note right off the bat. You know, the majority of these utility projects are all funded with municipal bonds, and I've listed the various types of bondings you can do. There's, you know, local improvement districts, local utility district grants, community development block grants, and obviously private equity funds. Now with private equity, you know, there's no such thing as a free lunch, so there's always strings attached to that.
And on that slide, Colin, I think it's important to understand that when we started our budgeting process in 2015, we allocated in our 2015 budget $1.5 million per utility towards a fiber build out, so a total of $4.5 million. We also had bid openings in this chamber with contractors to build that system out for us that were close to $3 million just for the last mile of fiber to the home. I think that, as Paul said earlier, nobody expected this thing to be built for free. And unlike other projects that were done, we didn't just come to MDF and say, give us some money so we can go build a project. We saved and we planned so that we could be an asset, not a hindrance, but a help to the community. And we took those revenues and we're building something for this community that everybody's going to benefit from. That everybody's going to, it has the ability to increase quality of life by a dramatic amount for everybody. And we did that through our hard work and our planning. We didn't do that through a loan. We didn't do it through municipal bond. We did it through earnings and planning. And in fact, I believe when Ershad presented here one night, he suggested that we float a bond, and the response from council was, no, we'll finance it ourselves, and we in fact have. And so we knew what we were doing. I've never questioned what we were doing and the path we're on. And I have total confidence in my employees. I have total confidence in my telecommunications manager and Colin, that we're doing the right things on behalf of the community. And we don't intend to show up at the bond bank or to MDF and with our hand out. We plan on being an asset to the community.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Moosh.
Thank you.
Thanks, Moosh.
Any other committee reports? Olin?
No, Your Honor. We do have a video that we were asked to bring here tonight to play. So, Moosh, if you would.
Is this under the old business?
Yes, I'm sorry. It is under old business. I'm sorry.
You want to wait on that?
Yeah,
or-
we'll wait. Sorry,
Okay.
we'll wait.
All right, so no other committee reports?
No, Your Honor.
New business?
I don't have any.
Is this now the time, Kelly? I mean, I'd like to make a motion, guys, and it's up to us as a group. We're in charge, but I would like to make a motion to pay this bill on this poll, or to present it to council with a favorable at the next meeting. And Kelly, you might be able to word that better, or somebody might be able to for me.
Well, your bill's already paid, so you don't want to pay it again.
Bills paid by the utility, I guess I want reimbursed.
So your motion would be to present the bill, the agreed upon bill, to council with a favorable from the utility board to be paid at the next meeting.
Thank you.
That sound right?
Yep.
And that's minus the overhead, the 40% and 20%, everything, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So we got a motion on the floor.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. I don't know what they.
1 million.
1,059,000 and Colin.
It is $1,050,462.84.
Okay. Any other new business?
No, Your Honor.
What about the new pole we're gonna put up?
That doesn't need to be if you want to make a motion, you can make a motion, but I can assure you we'll take care of that.
How much will that be? Give me an estimate. I know you won't be able to know right
Boy.
now to the penny.
Boy, don't get me to, don't get me
I
down
want
that
to start
road
this
again.
all over again
Minus
on the new pole.
administrative fees.
Yeah, I won't charge any overtime for it, which, anyway. Tony, I don't know the answer to that. What I can tell you is we will do whatever's needed to secure that so it doesn't fall into the right of way.
All right.
Will we be able to raise it over, will we have to set another pole
So
by the
here,
parking
well,
lot?
here's the complication. Every time we have touched CenturyLink's or Comcast cabling in the past, they've immediately sent out to us, or most times they send out to us, a notification of damage, which means you've touched our stuff and we're just going to blanket you with this notification of damage that we're holding you responsible for anything that may ever happen to that segment of line again.
Yeah,
And so I expect that if we try to raise that up out of the bank's parking lot, which if you give me a directive to do that, we'll certainly do it. Keep in mind that we will get hit with a notification of damage.
Is this what happened over by the adult center? Was it CenturyLink or was it somebody else?
No, that was
CenturyLink.
That was CenturyLink. Yeah.
I'm gonna recommend that we
Thank-
install the temporary pole and then demand that they move it, because I've been in that situation also. Not in this state, but in New Jersey. And you touch their cable and you own it.
That's
Yeah,
what
it's
New Jersey
problematic,
people
Mel.
do it.
That's right.
Can we get the pole, well,
Yeah, I
work
can
with-
keep it
can
from
we work
falling
with
into the
CenturyLink
roadway.
to come, and while we're raising the pole, for them to raise the wire, can you call them?
Tony, keep in mind, the metal pole that was hit is the oldest pole that sits out there. And the wooden pole that's just behind it towards the building was put in 2009 by Ellie Myers at a cost of $375,000. CenturyLink never, from 2009 to today, came and moved off the old steel pole to the new wooden pole. The only reason the steel pole sits on that corner today is because they have refused to get off that pole, vacate that pole onto the 2009 version wood pole. So if you're asking me if I can get them out here to do work on that pole, that's a fool's bet. If you look around town, you're going to see in areas where there's 2 and 3 poles sitting there. The reason that exists is because we've gone through 3 generations of poles where the telecommunications companies have refused to come get off those poles onto the new pole or the next newest pole. So we can lean on them as much as we like. Greg and I, now I will say this, the pole attachment agreement that Greg and I hammered out with them does give us some teeth. And Greg, if you want to talk about that a bit.
Well, I can't. I've been precluded from making any presentation to you folks tonight based on my analysis or legal advice by the city's attorney's office. I can't give you any presentation. I apologize.
Well,
I'm precluded from doing so. So I'm guessing the city's attorney's office will answer that question for you right now.
I have a comment prior to that. Sometimes being a turd, when I was utility director, what I have done, and I don't know if you want to do this or not, it's up to you. I have not touched their system, except tie a rope around it, and cut the old pole with a chainsaw and left about this much hanging where their attachment was. And what I found doing that is they come out in a big hurry.
Well, look, I mean, I wish that I thought they would, but Regina Rybolt called me on a pedestal that was hit behind their apartment building on High Street.
Yeah.
On Walnut. And cables spread all over the ground. I called the engineer, talked to them personally on the phone, told him that this is in a park, all these kids are around this thing, and it's DC voltage, low voltage, but it's still a risk. And it still exists that way today. It's been 6 months. So I don't know how to compel them to come out. And the bigger issue is, these are serious matters that the utility has to be able to navigate and deal with. And I don't have access to Del Weldon, nor do I have the relationship with Del Weldon to work with him.
Well,
And this issue with Mr. Nybarger has got to be cleared up, because if we don't, this utility is going to suffer.
how about if we
So did we
direct,
get any closure on the pole?
Not yet.
how about if
We're
we
getting the
direct
pole up, but
Mr.
we ain't getting no wire up. That's our problem.
How about if we direct Mr. Nyberger to
Can we do the pole first?
That's what I'm gonna.
I'll do the poll. We'll get the poll done. I'll get guys over there tomorrow. We'll get the poll situated.
Do you think we can raise the wire?
I can make sure that it meets the standards of the heights required by the DOT.
And then I would like to direct Mr. Nyberger, I can make a motion if you want, to contact the appropriate utilities, CenturyLink and Comcast or whoever it is on that pole, and give them a time period to move it to the temporary pole, period.
Thought that's what we just asked Golan to do.
And then
Well-
we can go from there, you know, so.
Because if we put, if Olin puts the temporary pole up and the CenturyLink cable doesn't get moved right away, we're just prolonging the problem until
Yeah.
CenturyLink would decide to do it.
Well, if
Am I correct, Olin?
Yeah, that's right.
if you get a letter from him,
Well, Mel,
they would I would think they would do it.
I appreciate that. One of the issues is we spent a considerable amount of time hammering out a new pole attachment agreement.
Yeah.
When I say we, I mean my staff and Mr. Nybarger. We presented that here for ratification one evening. We agreed to raise the pole attachment rates to a certain dollar amount.
Right.
And we signed off on that, basically that agreement, all of us did. And so Greg knows it inside and out. And this whole relationship here with the attorney's office has
Well,
got
then-
to be
And
remedied.
use the Mel Davis method. Tie a rope around it, cut the darn thing off about,
Well, we're already solved the poll, right?
Yeah.
So now
Olin's gonna take care of that tomorrow.
I'd like to move on, and I'd like to ask Mr. Nyberger to step to the podium. I'm not gonna ask you for any legal advice. I got some questions. My question is, you're a lawyer.
I hope so.
I believe you are a expert in utilities.
I would like to hope so.
So your field, you studied utility work.
Utility law and, yes, conjunction with others in my firm.
Now, if I remember right, guys, this is for all of us. If I remember right, as a group, when we decided to have our meetings on a different night, we went round and round on this, and Mr. Weldon, Mr. Nyberger, and all of us agreed to have these meetings on a different night, and we were expecting this man to be our lawyer for utilities. And Mr. Weldon is a lawyer, and sometimes when we got as much going on as we got a fiber going on. We got a lot of things. This is a very unusual city. We need experts. I want this guy representing the utility. Now, what I want tonight is to make it real good and clear for the citizens of Lawrenceburg to know either we're gonna vote and he's gonna be done, or he's working with us.
What we did last time was we said that Dale could handle the day-to-day stuff and any utility-specific related stuff. Mr. Nybarger would handle that. Everybody was in agreement with that.
yep.
But then we got a letter from Dell the other day, I'm sure you got it too, that says that he can't. So I don't know what the legal, maybe he can say if he can, I don't know.
I find it very unbelievable that the citizens of Lawrenceburg could elect 7 people to do their day-to-day business, but yet we have a lawyer that's doing the day-to-day business and telling us what we need to do. Now, Kelly, you was elected, all the councilmen, and Richard. And here we are taking orders from this man time after time after time, and all I want is for this to be handled in a fair manner. Now, Dale's not an expert on utilities, and one of us needs to admit that we're not, and I can't think of a better thing for us to have than an expert on utilities, because I think we need them from time to time. And Dale Weldon said, I believe that night, Aaron, I've worked with Mr. Nyberger many a times. I get along with him. I'm all right with it. Now, I don't know what changed to bring this predicament along, but I don't want it to be brought like this. Now, what is the sense in me getting elected, being put in this seat, if I don't have a say in anything?
Well, the part that bothers me is we made a decision on this, gentlemen, but we got it taken away. You know, we want to make a decision, we did. And we just got it taken away by our attorney. And he hadn't explained anything to us, sent no letters to us or anything about the reason why. And I'm waiting to hear something from our attorney. Why did he do this?
All right, but by Indiana code, do you work under the city attorney at his pleasure?
I believe that I was properly authorized to represent the utility. I believe that everyone, as I understand it, and please, if anyone disagrees, please let me know, that it was agreed to with Mr. Weldon in front of everybody, that Mr. Clausen had the discretion to decide when he needed to go to me. His comments along the lines of, he said, I know when I need to call Mr. Weldon, I know when I need to call Mr. Nybarger. That's my understanding. I believe that we've been properly authorized. We've taken the proper course, in my opinion, and I've got a letter. I'm not allowed to provide to you any of my analysis or legal advice tonight in the presentation. I'm just not allowed to do it. So I'm here. I told Mr. Weldon I was going to address one issue that was raised with respect to a request you made about, are we going to have meetings to try and resolve some pending litigation? The answer to that is yes. A plan is in place with the mayor's office to get some meetings scheduled on those. I did receive today an email with some dates in October on one of those matters. That's as far as I believe I'm allowed to go under the restrictions and fence that's been built around me with respect to the city's attorney's office. I can't make a presentation to you about any of those things tonight. I can only answer those questions, and I feel like that's about as much as I'm allowed to tell you.
Okay, by Indiana code, Zach, you might want to answer this. Is Dale allowed to revoke that authorization of the board to use Mr. Nyberger?
I mean, I would have to go back and do research. I don't know the code off the top of my head.
And the question that I have is, I don't even know that it's been revoked. I mean, I can't tell from the email, but if it's been, I mean, what is your understanding on that?
I can't speak to Dell's.
Well, you were copied on the email, so I didn't know if you could bring some clarification tonight to the meeting, because that's why I told Mr. Weldon I was coming here tonight, so that we could have a conversation to get this resolved. That's all I want to do. I don't have any problem working with Mr. Weldon. I don't have any problem working with any of the folks on here. I've enjoyed, just so all of you know, it's been an honor to represent all of you, all the way down the line from Mr. Abbott to Mr. Clausen on the utility side. Mayor, it's been a pleasure to work with you on some of the things that we've been able to handle and get accomplished. I appreciate it all.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to reaffirm or reconfirm that Mr. Nyberger represent Lawrenceburg Municipal Utilities in legal matters that don't involve day-to-day issues.
Well, that's already been voted on.
We voted on that.
Yeah, we voted on it once, but I'd like to do it again.
Why?
No, we're not going to vote on it again.
Kelly, why did he get can you explain why he got a notice that basically he's fired?
No, I can't.
Well, how about us making
But
a
I will.
decision tonight, and how about us
How about-
letting this man know that we either want him, what does this group want? I don't care what
You guys have
Dale
already
Weldon
voted.
wants.
You already voted for that, okay?
And
Correct.
so in other words, you are still working for us, right?
Let me address it with the attorney's office, okay?
All right.
But you guys had already voted on this. No reason to vote again, anything like that.
Well, I'd like to get it moving so we can get those other two lawsuits. I mean, that's costing us money every month.
Right.
Does anybody have an objection for
I
this
will-
man working with us?
I will get.
Just
I
as
will
drive
get
time.
You'll get it handled.
answered tomorrow.
I don't care about the answer.
No,
I want you
I'm gonna
telling
take
him
care of
what
it.
we want.
I'll.
I don't want to hear
I'm
an
gonna
answer from
discuss
Dale
why
Weldon.
he did it first, is what I will do.
Is there anything else? Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. All right, any other new business?
No, sir.
It's not on here?
No, sir.
About old business, and you want to show that video?
I don't know that we need to belabor it with the old video. If I was asked to bring it forward, so if you guys want to take a motion to dismiss it, I'm fine with that.
I just requested last time because I know there's some debate about what was talked, but it's in this email anyway,
Yeah, we
so
already debated
I
it.
don't need to see it.
Okay.
You guys don't?
Okay, can I get a motion to dismiss the item under old business then?
So moved.
Rather than table it, but,
I'll second it.
all right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let it be known that Mr. Davis is not in the room. All right, any other old business?
No, Your Honor.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the claims.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion will carry. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? There's not under USB, there's not.
I don't know, it's not on the agenda.
Motion to adjourn?
I think it's all right.
It's not on their agenda. They didn't put it on the agenda. I didn't make the agenda. Second? Can I get a second?
Council.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Opposed?
None
Motion will
there,
carry.
so I think so.
Read Facebook. Yeah, you missed your point, man.
What does she look like?
Nobody get hurt?
She has dark brown hair. She's a little bit taller than me. She's always, she's probably, she's in her fifties.
She's okay though?
She's worked at.
I understand. I get it. Anytime you want to stop by, stop in.
The one I know is the one that she talks